The Lakers have a lot to think about this upcoming offseason. Coming off of a sweep in the Western Conference Finals, they will look to retool like they do every offseason. LeBron isn't getting any younger, and Anthony Davis hasn't played more than 60 games in a season since the bubble. This team needs to look for a reliable guy to keep them afloat while LeBron and AD are on the bench, and Kyrie Irving, who is set to be a free agent, is not the answer. Hey guys, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today, I'm going to be talking about the rumors about the Lakers this upcoming offseason regarding Kyrie Irving, who's going to be a free agent. Also talking about Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, Russell, pretty much all the players on this team that we saw last season and some guys who they could get this offseason. So let's get right into it. LA has always been known as the premier destination for players in free agency, and this offseason is no different. Kyrie Irving is set to become arguably the top free agent this offseason right next to James Harden, and the Lakers are looking for as much help as they can get in LeBron's final years in the league. It's safe to say that this team exceeded mostly everyone's expectations this season, making it to the conference finals as a play-in team after starting 2-10. They needed to change the team up, and they did, making big trades for Rui Hachimura, D'Angelo Russell, Jared Vanderbilt, and Malik Beasley. After these trades, they went 16-7 after the All-Star break, which was one game behind the Bucks for the best record in the league. Trading away Westbrook really helped the Lakers and allowed them to start fresh going into the end of the season when they started to heat up. The Lakers have 7 players under contract going into 2023 and money under cap hold who they can choose to re-sign. Austin Reeves should be the #1 priority for this Lakers team as he took a tremendous leap in his second season, becoming an elite three-point shooter at almost 40%, averaging 13 points per game in the regular season and 16.9 in the playoffs, shooting 44%. And percentage-wise, you can look at that in the stats, but if you go through, he made some huge clutch buckets on the three-point line and inside too. A very underrated two-point shooter this season. And, they're going to have to match an offer from any other team that wants him. He's going to get a bag from somewhere, but they've already said that they're probably going to go out and do this, as he can be a guy that can fit on this team for a long time, especially after LeBron retires. But especially right now, they're going to need him on the team as the third option. Next up on the docket should be Rui Hachimura, who they essentially stole from the Wizards, and he performed when he needed to in the playoffs, especially in Game 1 against the Nuggets. These two players are restricted free agents, so the Lakers will most likely retain them as long as they want to pay them both, and they definitely should, and they've shown interest in putting these two guys kind of above everyone else in this offseason, above signing any free agents. These are the top 2 guys they're going to go for as they're restricted, and they're probably going to pay whatever they need to keep both of them on the roster. D'Angelo Russell, on the other hand, is not someone who should be back on this team, and both sides seem to agree. He disappeared in the playoffs, averaging 6.3 points per game on 32% shooting in the conference finals, which led to his benching. Many teams will still have their eyes on D'Angelo Russell, and the Lakers have shown interest in a sign-in trade, including names like Fred VanVleet, who would fit this team as the next point guard. Now to Kyrie Irving. Obviously, a guy like Fred VanVleet isn't as good as Kyrie Irving, but using all your remaining cap space to get a third star and losing money to use depth will plague this team like we've seen with the super teams in the past few years. Obviously, Kyrie Irving is a guy who knows about this when he was on the Nets with Kevin Durant and James Harden. Once James Harden and Kyrie had those plaguing injuries, when it was basically just Kevin Durant against the Bucks, he was close to bringing them to the finals, but he was an inch away with that three-point shot, which would obviously be a 2. But that team had no depth because they spent all their money on the big 3, and that's what this Lakers team would have to deal with. If they could get a guy like VanVleet, that allows them to save some cap and build the depth up to compete in the West when it comes to the playoffs. They just played a team like the Nuggets, who have Jokic and Murray, who are both stars in their own right, and they used the rest of that cap space to build up the depth, and that's why they were so good this season. They've been building it up for a while. Obviously, the Lakers don't have as much time with LeBron and Anthony Davis obviously having injuries pretty much every few weeks, it seems like. But they have the amount of money with LeBron and Anthony Davis where they should not go out and sign a third star like Kyrie Irving and kind of just spoil the whole team overall. They made the Western Conference Finals as a 7 seed with this core, and only playing together for a few months before the playoffs. If you give them a full offseason to rebuild and play together, and replace Russell with a point guard who doesn't need to be ball dominant, as they still have LeBron, get the pieces for your bench and run it back. Don't blow up your core and your cap space to get Kyrie Irving and end up like all these super teams with no cap space that we have seen fail time and time again in the playoffs.